So, Hakan, I would like to start with, what is this like for you? You've done all of this research and published on loneliness in the workplace primarily, but otherwise. And then here we are, everybody's alone.
I know. And I've been doing research on loneliness for about 12 years now. And when I started doing this research, even if I had seen this in my dream, I wouldn't have believed it, that the concept will be this much of relevance for the world. And it's fascinating. I mean, as a human being, I'm extremely concerned. And as a researcher, I'm extremely intrigued.
And a father as well.
Exactly. I mean, as a father, I am now, on a daily basis, my wife and I, we are educating our children. I mean, they are born into a family where loneliness is an everyday conversation because of their daddy. And yet, right now, we are actively trying to understand what we are going through. And I've been thinking about it for several weeks right now. And it's interesting because I started thinking about it as a loneliness phenomenon. And yet I realized that it is different. It is related to loneliness, but what we are going through right now is significantly different from loneliness, and it's related to it. And actually, I even found a name for it. As scholars, we want to put some concepts around the phenomena. So I think what we are going through right now is a societal sudden organizational isolation. And if you want an acronym for it, SSOI. So what is it? Isolation, we all know. For thousands of years, as humankind, we know that isolation is a terrible thing. It's one of the biggest punishments, even in our legal system, in prisons. Solitary confinement is one of the most torturous thing you can do to a prisoner. It is painful. We know about it for a long time. And organizational isolation is a relatively new concept, but we know about that too. And that is, you work from home, you are telecommuting, and it is just not easy to be isolated. So what we have not seen up until today is sudden organizational isolation. So without any transition, any lead time, any choice, employees were told, we were told that, okay, you are going back home and you don't know when you are coming back, and you'll just continue working from home. So this is a huge shift.
Yes, and for some, it is more extreme than for others. You and I both have families, and we're self-quarantining with other human beings. But of course, we all have friends and neighbors and family around the world who are they're isolating by themselves.
That's an excellent point. And that brings us to societal component of it. Because it's not just business organizations. It is societal sudden organizational isolation. It's not just business organizations. It is the government, the schools. So all the organizations that bring our society together are now isolated. And it is organizational, but at the same time, there is a possibility. And
family units are separated one from another. So basically any grouping of human beings right now is suffering from this SSOI.
So family is another organization in the society. So that's the only organization in the world right now that we can continue our social interactions. And exactly what you are telling is so important. What if you don't have a family around you? What if you are living alone? So that can easily become an isolation, not an organizational isolation, but an isolation period, which is painful. So we really need to be careful about how to help our employees, and we really need to be careful about how to give advice to managers and organizational leaders. And we also really need to be careful about how we educate our students in this new period that we are all going through right now, and we don't know where we are going, and we don't know when it's going to end. So for that, I think it's important to have some conceptual clarifications about isolation. And also think about some of the ways to prevent some of the risks that are related to isolation.
Well, how do we know, you had, we were in conversation, talked a few days ago about, you were explaining to me about how do I identify what is the difference for me? And I hadn't thought about it before, when I'm alone or when I'm lonely.
Exactly. So there are different forms of social aloneness. So one of them is solitude. You are alone and you enjoy it. You self-reflect, you write your journal, you read your book. So it is a, you know, pleasant psychological state to be in. And then you got isolation. You are alone, but you don't like it. And you are physically excluded. Mm-hmm. You are physically isolated. It's not psychological, it is physical. And then you got loneliness. Loneliness is also an unpleasant state to be in, and yet loneliness is psychological. So you can be lonely in the middle of a crowd, and yet in isolation, you are excluded from the people around you. And at the top of it, you got ostracism, where literally other people are excluding you and they are bonding each other. So
and this being ostracized thing, I'd like to stop here for just one moment, because I think, you know, originally your focus on that was sort of in the workplace.
Yes.
But this what we're talking about now, people quarantining at home in whatever group configuration, whether they're exposed to neighbors or roommates or family, this can happen within any grouping.
I mean, all these concepts can go beyond organizations, business organizations. So, and if you want to create another acronym, silo, solitude, isolation, loneliness, ostracism. So these are all related psychological states that we can get in and out right now. And yet we need to know that what's happening in the society is isolation. So now the challenge is, how can you find a way to buffer yourself from loneliness in a world where you are isolated? So for that, I've got another acronym, and it is...
oh my gosh, another acronym. Wait, let me get my pen.
I've been trying to pull things together right now, and acronyms really help. And that is ICU. And so here's what it is. A lot of people are now working remotely right now. And they've been exchanging emails, they've been trying to get work done. And I think very soon we will start getting back to our organizational conflicts and problems and all these, you know, tensions. It's part of organizational world, right? So right now everybody is kind of quiet and adapting, but very soon those real, although petty organizational problems will kick in, and then we'll experience those in an isolated manner. So since though people are experiencing all that in an isolated environment, there is a lot of room for more misunderstanding right now. So as employees, you get an email, you don't have any nonverbal cues, and you can interpret that email in any way you can. And if the more isolated we get, the lonelier we'll start feeling. And the more that happens, the more we'll start interpreting negative cues more strongly. We'll start interpreting our environment from a more negative lens. So ICU acronym is a very action-based, and that is interact, clarify, and utilize rituals. And here's what I mean. You get an email and you feel a little bit awkward. You feel like that person is not as close to you as you want it to be. Interact, pick up the phone, call the person, or have a Skype meeting, have a Zoom meeting, right? See face-to-face. That interaction will help you clear out a lot of the ambiguity so you can go back to your normal state. And then clarify. Whatever that bugs you, right? Ask about it on the spot rather than start creating stories around it. Because as people, out of kindness, out of social norms, out of organizational rules and cultures, you might be too hesitant to ask for clarifications when we are interacting face to face. But right now, we need it. It's a communication channel. And so we need to ask people, so did you mean this? Or can I clarify with you? Or is everything all right? Just fix the problem.
Of course.
And then the third one is utilize rituals. Because when we are interacting face to face, there are a lot of rituals that really take care of our relationships. Simply saying hi to somebody. And humankind has created that thousands of years ago. And we still do it, not just because we like it, but because it's necessary. It takes us a few seconds when we say hi to each other to give us each other the information that we are doing okay. Our relationship is fine. So right now, those highs are getting virtual. So how are we going to have our virtual highs?
I love this. Hakan, I love this. So you shared a few things with me. SSOI, quickly defined as?
Societal organizational isolation.
Organizational isolation. And then silo, which is
solitude, isolation, loneliness, ostracism. And I would even go further to argue that break the silo. Solitude, isolation, loneliness, ostracism. Make sure that they're all different and define your state. Do not blur the boundaries. And
that's fabulous. And I love ICU. It's so active, so simple. That is such a simple, active, useful concept. And I think you need to share that immediately, especially within professional organizations. Need every tool that they can use right now. I
already told my students, like yesterday, I had my first online classes, and I already started, giving them advice about how to, continue their life as a student in that virtual domain. And this is something that's really important. I see you.
So great, so useful. Okay, you know what? I love this visit, and it was brief, but I'm going to stop here today, right? Shall we?
I think there's a lot more to cover, and I think we'll have several episodes. We were thinking that maybe we'll have one episode, but I think we'll have more. And not only that, Elisabeth, the more we are talking right now, the more I'm feeling that I think we can invite other people in. I think there are a lot of experts out there help us tackle, especially this SSOI, Societal Sudden Organizational Isolation. How can we tackle that from a psychological point of view? With regards to groups and families, with regards to organizations, leadership. So there's a lot to explore.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it, my friend. I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.